Hello all, welcome back to the Tech on Toast podcast. My name's Chris Fletcher and it's season 11. This season we have ZenZap as our sponsor for the Tech on Toast podcast, and if you're in hospitality, you know how chaotic managing a team can get. Don't worry, ZenZap is here to change that. Now, I've been using ZenZap for my own team at Tech on Toast, and honestly, I don't know how we've managed without it. It's a game changer for keeping everything organised. Instead of juggling endless email threads, WhatsApp groups, and random sticky notes around my office, we've got everything in one place. Conversations sorted by topic, tasks assigned and tracked without fuss, and files right at your fingertips when you need them. And for you guys in the restaurants, it's a no-brainer. The kitchen team can report supply issues in a dedicated chat. Managers can roll out new specials to the front of house instantly, and task assignments like prepping for a big event, all handled effortlessly. And my absolute favourite part, ZenZap keeps your work life separate from your personal life. No more work messages clogging up my WhatsApp, and no more 10 p.m. pings from my team ruining my downtime. It's intuitive, secure, and works on any device, so you're always connected but always in control. If you're ready to simplify your team's comms and get your evenings back, try ZenZap for free. No card needed, zenzap.co. Go check it out. Big thanks to ZenZap. Big thanks to all of you for coming to listen. Should we get on with it? I think so. Enjoy the show. Welcome to David Kirby, IT Innovation and Project Manager at Young's. David, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Pleasure to be here.
And Hans Arthur. What's your title these days? What do I call you? Enterprise Lead? Is that the right?
So, Enterprise Sales Manager, but I look after the direct function. We'll go out and speak to enterprise customers who aren't yet with Dojo. That's what we do.
If you see Hans floating about your restaurant, you know what he wants.
Please come and say hello.
And before we get into anything, let's just talk about you two individually for a second. David, tell us a little bit about, because we don't know loads about you, or I don't. Tell me a little bit about your career. How long have you been at Young's?
Half years now. A fair chunk of my career. Joined Young's back in 2012 as a manager at one of the pubs in the city, and I got seconded into IT probably about a decade ago. I spent the last decade working across internal Young's CapEx projects, payments, EPOS support, apps, loyalty as well. And that's culminated in being here today.
Wow. 12 years. You must have seen a lot of changes, and we'll get into it, but around how tech's evolved. And Hans, you were formerly, you're not just from the tech game, you were formerly in hospitality.
I was at Young's for about 5 years, ran the Orange Tree in Richmond, incredibly famous rugby pub, literally big rugby fan. On the rugby days, like the Six Nations, which is coming up, the bar changes into this massive festival. You clear out all the furniture. 5 a.m, the van truck would come in. A week's worth of beer deliveries, stacking up the kegs. On a Saturday, astronomical pints are sold, especially Guinness. Loved it. Really fond memories. Young's are such a great operator. It was Paul Rayner at the time. He was my area manager. When I was a pub manager, he started looking after the payments within Young's. So when I moved from Payment Sense and then Dojo, we had conversations, and that's how I met David again and Shaquille, and here we are today, 4.5 years later, working together.
Let's get into it. I want to have a chat. Dojo did a commission recently with about 1,000. I think you guys worked with over 1,000 SMEs. 21% were talking about saying how retention is still a massive problem in the industry. Retention is still a huge issue. How much is tech playing a part in that, David, in your role? Interesting to hear over the years as how that's...
So I think if you take it back 10 years, the notion of putting out a job advert and getting 30, 40 applicants for a bartender or a sous chef, whatever it may be, isn't there anymore. COVID changed that massively. You're getting very few applicants for those same positions. It's not necessarily viewed as attractive anymore. But I think things have started to stabilise. Certainly from a Young's perspective, we are getting that throughput. If you then bring in the technology, the easier it is to use, the easier it is to adopt. I think the minute you're being questioned or asked about functionality and you're getting into that sort of long, it's not intuitive enough. You've already lost the battle. Quite often when you're introducing new technology, they're used to what they've got. They might not like what they've got, let's be very clear. Right? However, it's the shift and the change in the adoption of the new technology. But when you show them something that is intuitive, suddenly that fear just goes away, and it's almost at the point where it's not training anymore. It's like getting a new app on your phone.
Yeah.
If it's well built and well designed, there's no instruction manual for it that previously was in the sort of world of payments or EPOS. You press here, you swipe here, and it works, and the staff member of the team can find their own way. The managers have their place, but it's the hearts and minds of the person on the floor that you've got to win. And it's always quite interesting that we'll have a manager who might be a little bit more hesitant than the team member. The team member's already running away, taking orders and taking payments, and very successfully. They've got different priorities. They're different job during service. They're monitoring things. They're not necessarily the one that's got the POS in their hand or going back to the till. But it's the reportage, and it's the integrity of the numbers that are coming through, making sure payments are being successful. They haven't got pending transactions that a customer's going to come in and and query on their bank statement. It's that reassurance that's coming through. If you like that consistency and stability in your business, it's then in theory much easier to keep control and keep your retention numbers within the team. You move businesses, you don't have access maybe to the same investment or the same technology, and suddenly you find yourself where you were maybe 5 years ago, where you need to raise a support ticket with 5 or 6 different teams rather than one person who's going to own it, deal with it, and life just becomes a battle. If you then try to recruit your team and you're only getting a limited number of applicants, but you've also got to deal with an outage or a really complicated system, a massive investment in training before that person's, it's that confidence and comfort on the floor. You want that person to be able to engage with your guests and customers as soon as possible. If they're concerned or almost hiding behind the tech, it's not right for the business.
Yeah, 100%. I think, and I always found that partnerships, when you're into these kind of, and I've been on the floor, I've been GM, I've been on the board, and it's very interesting that when it comes down to that hands, where you're working with people like David, that actually the partnership, not just the tech has to be intuitive, but actually the partnership that you guys have to have has to be Stonewall as well, right? That actually you guys are enabling that, what David just talked about, to happen.
You need that trust. It was back in September 2020 when we finally got to pilot Dojo at the boathouse. I was there with the chief product officer at the time. We had Moshi in there. We had one of our engineers there, literally writing code, doing some of their wizardry to get up and running, because it was a pay at table. That was the last piece. We had pay account integration, but it was pay at table. We got up and running. At least 6 or 7 sites. One of their key operators, the sites the Orange Tree used to be one of the testing sites as well. Not that they want to break it, but they'll pull it apart so we understand if there are issues, how we can fix them, how we make the improvements, how we get it better. The feedback from young staff on the floor and the managers is always top class. They're the best operators out there, so we're able to build those products, get them right for the larger scale rollout, and then obviously minimize any downtime, which, touch wood, to this day it's very rare we have any downtime.
And part of the same survey, David, 27% of operators said that actually accelerating through tech can be a bit of a stumbling point for growth. How, I'm from just hearing you talk, actually you're obviously overcoming that. How are you overcoming that?
So we take the Dojo piece in particular, so the payment piece, to be clear, we were moving from a world of standalone payments. The challenge for Dojo, really, the key to that partnership and the relationship, to make sure that it is reliable and it's also deployable, and the scalability of it as well. As Hans said, we did 7 pubs initially to pilot to make sure that it's robust. If there were any challenges, as the team were very much on hand. Without that, we then don't have confidence of a business to be working with. It's knowing you can pick the phone up. You've got the support desk, but you can also pick the phone up to somebody who you can have a sensible conversation with and understand it's less about IT and technology nowadays, and it's as much about service and operations. And as I say, it's that ability to put something into somebody's hand that they can intuitively use. And if you're going to be operating multiple businesses, you're acquiring pubs as well in the space. We've got a package of kit that we can put into a pub, and we just know it's going to work because we know the product, we know the people behind it.
Yeah, that must be really important, actually, that kind of out of the box mentality when you're trying to open new sites or acquire new sites, that you're actually going into it with a set tech stack that you trust. Because I often find that when you're doing new openings, that the trust isn't immediately there from the team you may have acquired or may have opened with you. And I think it becomes a challenge straight away. It's a really interesting point. And Hans, it's not just investing in the short term, is it? When you're looking at technology, it's really looking at the long term investment. How hard is that sometimes when you're meeting prospective partners like Youngs or people like that to get that point across that actually this isn't a stopgap type solution? This is something you need to look at long term, like David said, in terms of scalability.
Dojo is quite unique in the payments world. It's a cloud native platform, so I'm not going to let you know how the money spent on actually building that platform, but a lot of the payment providers out there are like old 1970s infrastructure. We're cloud native. 400 engineers built the software. On that platform, we can now start adding a lot of products. Without reliability, that's the groundwork, that's the infrastructure you need to start adding products. You cannot work with large enterprise customers, corporate accounts like Young's, if you do not have that uptime and that reliability. So that was the number one feature we had to make sure we'd always hit.
It's like the bedrock of anything.
Absolutely. It's fantastic to have loads of products and features, but if the payments aren't always on and there are reliability issues, it's going to affect your business, it's going to affect your customers, it's going to affect your staff, it's going to cause your account team a lot more work. There's chargebacks, there's customers walking out the door. You cannot have that these days. It's a very competitive market out there, so your payments always need to be on. We touched on that 7 trial site, and then in 2021, early around March, April, Google went down. Even I went down
That
as
would
well.
be a problem for
Yeah,
me.
it affected everybody. Now, it went down for about 5 minutes. My phone literally blew up. David was phoning me, Young's phoning me, and we were in the middle of starting to roll out the next batch of new Young's locations. After that, Nick Fryer, he was on the call, he was on the last Second Toast. Him and his team went back and literally created that third layer.
He is
obsessed with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's why we actually have that 5 nines uptime.
Yeah.
To me, it's so vital, especially when we explain the setup to large enterprise customers, how we can always keep you on.
I know there was a report at Statista, it's called, and a 30% increase in outages across platforms like you're talking about. And David, that is becoming more common, probably more common in the fact that we're talking about it more because businesses are relying so much more on tech. Again, it's an obvious answer, but going back to the reliability piece, having a partner or having for your team to rely on, because they don't blame Dojo, they blame you, I presume.
Correct, yes.
Yes. So they just look at you or your team and think, yeah, why isn't it on, David? How much more of a battle is that for you now, making sure that that piece is staying on all the time?
It's absolutely key. It's the bedrock of what we do and the solutions we look for. Because if you don't have that reliability, as you said, the pub teams, they don't really care what the issue is. They just want it fixed. It just needs to work, especially with payment. It's what is key. 5 deep at the bar to suddenly everyone's gone away. We don't have cash points in pubs anymore, really. Yeah. Cash is becoming less and less, the access to it. So it becomes a real issue. And that the integration for the POS is absolutely has to be there for the reconciliation, the ease, the banking. It just automatically happens. So there's less time spent counting, reconciling, which we can devote to being on the floor for customers. But having these different options, whether it's switching the Wi-Fi off, the 4G is available. As I've said, we can decouple from the POS as well. So we've got now a standalone machine. There's loads of options in our toolkit. So then when the pub is in a bit of a panic, we can very quickly look at it and ascertain what the issue is and give them a solution. You have a plastic box full of a price list, pen and paper. I remember walking, we had a Wimbledon Village is very well known for having a distinct lack of mobile signal. Very key on broadband lines. And we've got some really key big businesses there. And a couple of years ago, within the area, there's some maintenance contractors that basically gone through the fibre core for Wimbledon Village. And it was down for a couple of weeks before they repaired it.
Wow, the championships, was it?
But I remember walking in there with this click-clack machine. This was made me feel old because I've got all these the team members in the pub just looking at me thinking, what on earth is this contraption?
Gen Z and TikTok.
We don't have that issue anymore.
No.
And that's the beauty of it. And we're fortunate in Youngs that we haven't suffered from the downtime, partly because of the relationship we have with other partners. It's a real key part of when, because Dojo is the only sort of business we looked at, them understanding our business and understanding our pubs are very flexible spaces in terms of our menu deployment and our payments as well. But we have a standard that comes from the centre. It's really key that they understand, as Dojo do, you understand what a pub is, you understand what hospitality is, but some of the other payment providers perhaps don't have that same level of...
Yeah, because they may have come from a retailer. It's interesting because last time I saw you, we did a case study with Pepper. How important is that? You were just talking about then to align that to the customer, because it's not easy, right? In the pandemic, everybody bought it because they had to be legally to serve people. But how easy is it to get that right and then be able to, because you have a breadth of partners, obviously, so you can work with many of their different partners.
600 and counting.
Thank you, Hans.
Yeah, just get that.
That's why I say, yeah. How hard is that to get that bit right? Because do you do a lot of testing then to make sure that that works?
Yeah, we do. We're not a branded menu environment, so we don't have a central data team who's going to change drinks menus, food menus on a quarterly basis.
Yeah.
The pubs have the ability to change those menus, not just seasonally, but by the day. So for the EPOS system, for the customer app, the menus to be up to date is key. Any time that's spent in the back office for a management team, you're not doing your front of house job, which is what we're here to look after people ultimately, make sure they have a great experience when they're in our pubs. So making sure the till system, the menus that are available in the pub in the printed format, what you're displaying online on your website, what's then available through order to table through our Pepper app, they all need to match. We've got systems in place that make sure that on the whole they will sync up. What you're seeing in one place will be represented somewhere else without a significant amount of admin time from the pub.
And it sounds really simple, doesn't it?
We spend a lot of time,
like glass size,
and that's our approach. Is we've got a group of our managers are encouraged to be entrepreneurial in what they do and really market there's more known as the Alma in Wandsworth than it is as a Young's pub. They've got the backing of the business, but you run the pub as your local pub.
Great way to run a business, though, isn't it?
And that's why it works, and that's why they end up having some of the best teams and managers.
People coming out of the pub industry. When I was at Carluccio's, we went through a phase of hiring area managers from Mitchell & Butlers, from Young's, people like that. They were a lot more business savvy. They looked at labour cost in a different way, food cost in a different way, their people in a really structured fashion that they actually followed through on everything. It just seems like the business acumen, I suppose, of these people that run these venues is another level.
Yeah.
Question mark.
We're very fortunate. The partnership with Young's has helped us excel into the enterprise and corporate space, especially within hospitality, because we were able to build a lot of products and features around their insights and support. I remember when we did the first 7 kind of trial sites, I think it was you or Shaquille turned around and said they wanted the decline screen bigger. And literally, I made a phone call. Next day, it was bigger. And we actually now have that decline screen today. We also worked together on our billing with the finance team. We were able to run reports and see if the integration drops out as well, if it goes to standalone, which is an incredible feature when you go to integrated payments. Any operators out there that don't have integrated payments, you need to come speak to me, because it is a game changer for your business. It's,
I think people have watched it so far, but
that was all my family, probably.
But you were showing me how Dojo can help larger teams, how it can support kind of these bigger businesses that you're working with, and then enterprise and scale. What I suppose are the key things that, because you showed me, was it the table layout you showed me where you can check out the different tables?
Yes, so we can support businesses remotely. So you phone our customer service, which is a massive new office in Bristol, award-winning. I think it's like a 16 seconds average response time for a call, which is pretty phenomenal. They can see the machine, they can dial in. So when a staff member phones, we don't give out any financials. Obviously, you need to be on that, the VIP list or that protected list, but they phone and get support. We can literally dial in the card machine, run a diagnostic and get it back up and running again. That support itself is world class. And then you've got your account management team, which with Vicky, who's the point of contact, especially for ops, but mostly the finance team. And we've a weekly call with some of our big clients to make sure we're still delivering their needs.
And as I mentioned before, actually, we were talking about the fact that investing is a long game, not a short one. And David, if anybody's listening, because what we in Tech on Toast, we deal with a lot of people below 20 sites, guys who don't have a David or a Hans even, but I'm sure they'd like a Hans. They don't have that ability to look down the road and really strategically plan what they want to do with technology. What's the best advice when you're looking at, not just for those guys, but for enterprise people as well listening, that why would you invest in your technology roadmap more in 2025 than you would even 2 years ago?
Yeah.
No, we deal with, most people ask me, who do you deal with in terms of incoming people who ask me? And if I told you, I'm working with a very large pub group right now, not yours, who are looking for help around certain bits of their tech stack. And they've come to us because literally they found themselves in a rabbit hole where they can't make a decision and they can't seem to get around. They've had a lot of sales pitches, a lot of demos, and they need some independent advice. So I get that's where I roll in the bigger businesses, but the small guys, you would imagine, it's like, where do we...
Yeah, and where's the knowledge coming from? Where do I... As you say, we don't have that team. It's on the individual.
Do you have a team then?
So within our actual head office IT function, there's 7 of us across a range of different functions. So it could be in BI, network, and a bit of data from an EPOS point of view. And then we've got a third-party support team who essentially run our support desk as well, which is another 6 engineers across 7 days.
That's the question, because that investment you are already putting in that size of a team to manage, it just shows the output is coming from the technology.
Yeah, and our team is quite streamlined for what we deliver.
You want more people?
Yes, a good place. We're quite agile because of the size of our team, so we can make the intuitive decisions and act quite quickly on them. And we're encouraged to do so as well. We don't have too much bureaucracy and red tape around those decisions, albeit it still goes through checks and balances, obviously. The one thing I always come to is comms, broadband. It's just a non-negotiable.
It's the only thing that matters, right?
We can't do anything as a business without it. Everything hinges on it. I've spoken to other people where they're doing a unit QSR and they don't want to put comms in. Maybe it's challenging what the challenges can be around
UK's infrastructure.
So they decide we're going to do a mobile. And it's like, we've got 5G, we've got 4G, but no one's then actually surveyed the site. Yeah. So they get to opening, the ops team get on site, and they suddenly realise we can't do anything.
Doesn't work at table 10. Yeah.
The IT team is then, we didn't realise. Whether you're running on mobile or you're running on a fixed line, a fibre or a Sagia, whatever it may be, that to me is the bedrock of what you're doing, and make sure it is suitable.
And it's not a cheap cost. That is I would suppose that is the more complex and expensive part of being tech ready, as you want to call it. But it is the most important part, because you can buy all your bells and whistles you want, but if you're not on, you're not on.
Yeah.
So it becomes very difficult. What do you think, because Hans, you guys are constantly installing?
Yes, but we're also releasing a lot of new products and features as well. And it's a bit like some operators. I think if I was going to open up another hospitality operation, I would want to have payments that suit everyone's needs.
Yeah,
if you've got the QR order and pay, you've got incremental pre-auth for bar tabs, you've got the Dojo Go, which can pay at counter, pay at table. Worst case, if the Wi-Fi is poor, we use a European SIM, so it will literally go and find the best signal, and we can go off an open network as well, so very little bandwidth to process a payment. So for me, it would always be about making sure I'm not losing business because the payments went down or the tech went down.
Yeah.
There's some brilliant all-in-one solutions out there, but if something happened with the EPOS, the payments, it goes out. If something happens with the payments, the all-in-one solution, you can't use anything. But with Dojo, we integrate with 600 odd and counting EPOS providers, and we can decouple and go to manual payments. So no matter what happens, you'll always be able to take a payment and not have customers walk out the door.
And I have to ask this question now because I've been told to, but were your top 3 tips? Because we're talking really about dependability and reliability, starting at the bedrock, as we call it, in terms of, well, you just talked about broadband, then actually just having the right comms in, but then all the way up through the customer experience. David, from you, what are your top 3 tips to someone?
Yeah, so number 1 is broadband. I can't stress that enough, especially in the modern world where you've got Wi-Fi, you've got your CRM, you've got loyalty schemes, you've got payment, you've got POS, you've got apps, you've got ordering ahead.
It's a lot.
And fundamentally, at the pub level, at the store level, without those comms, it's not going to work, and you're going to get a queue of disgruntled guests and customers. Number 2, the scalability of what you're using. I think probably from a smaller business perspective, just make sure that the product you choose, bearing in mind what's important to you, is it having intuitive data? Is it the CRM? Is it that single customer view? Is it your loyalty program and your order ahead? Pick a product that does the best of breed of those components that are important to your business, and find a business that the other bits that maybe aren't quite there, they're willing to grow and develop it with you, or there'll be a third party you can throw in. But identify what it is that your business is doing that's really key, and make sure the product has it innately to start off with. You don't want to be starting with something you think's fantastic and building it from scratch. It takes years, and all of the white label apps, etc., out there are already doing a lot of this within their product. You don't necessarily need the enhanced features that somebody might try to sell to you along the way. And then number 3 is referencing support. Who do you have a key person? If you don't know it yourself, do you have a key person you can lean on, you can ask? I always say, I do it myself, be a bit cheeky, walk into, whether it's a competitor or not, or walk into your local coffee shop, your local pub, your local restaurant. You can ascertain a lot from walking around and seeing what people are using. And if you get the opportunity, grab a member of the team and just ask them, what is that device like? How do you get on with it? Because that team member will give you a warts and all honest opinion.
They're great for people to gift.
Exactly, of what it's like. And it could be a configuration issue for the sake of argument. It could be that they haven't exploited what's available to them. It's because going out to market and having people come in and respond to you and sell, it is unfortunately quite often a sales pitch or a dream. So try if you can to get a reference point, see whether it's a big business, see what they're doing, small business, and ask those opinions.
It's a really good point. The referencing part is something I dine out on a lot with Tech on Toast, because that's all we do. We just ask people the honest opinion. Sometimes people don't want to hear that from the suppliers potentially, but the reality is that hospitality is tricky. It's a difficult business to serve in, and it's volatile, I would say, is the right word to describe it. What about you, Hans? Your top 3 tips before I let you leave?
Just exactly what David said. Especially support is massive, especially for independent operators as well. Dojo just became the number 1 SME payment provider, the largest in the UK. We did that in 4 years, and customer service and our Trustpilot reviews is a lot to do with that. Always being on, our uptime resilience is so important, and then offering that array of different payments, that option, so we can fit your business needs. Dojo, we're more than just payments. We have also a Dojo booking system as well, and we are a tech company, and we have a lot of new products coming this year as well to help your business thrive. Payments, yes, some people think just want them to work, but if you with the right partner, you can get a lot of data, you get a lot of good support, you can help grow your business. So yeah, I would definitely look at Dojo.
I agree. I think it's about relationships. I think the product has to be good at its base. But after that, it's about relationships, because people like David have got to be able to get a response that they're happy with and feel like they're being looked after. And that must be hard for tech companies. I'm guessing if there's 10 Davids they're looking after, it becomes tricky, right? Because you all want different things. You're all enterprise businesses and you all want to shape the product to fit you. But that's where you get into tech for, right? To build some magic.
Yeah, but it's like you said, if the relationship's there, you go on that journey with the customers. So you want to make sure they're happy. And we have a lot of great people at Dojo that make sure we do that.
You are one of them. David, we'd like to have a bit of fun with our next guest who comes along. If you could ask them any question, anything to do with technology, what would you like to ask them?
You're welcome. About AI, it's something that we know it's there. Everything's about AI and what it's going to do to the job market, what it's going to mean for multiple businesses. And I guess my question is, where does that sit within hospitality? Where would you be using it? We know people are using it for call handling, for phones, for the sake of argument, for reservations. There's an old adage that phones in pubs in particular, the answer rate is quite low, unfortunately. And it's a missed booking, it's a missed conversation, it's a missed query. Where do you see AI being?
Question, and we managed to get through 35 minutes of a podcast without mentioning AI till that point. So yeah, that's really good. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
How do we get hold of Dojo if we want to find out more about this beautiful product?
You can go to dojo.tech. Actually, on that website, you can go to the enterprise page as well, which is myself and my team. You can book a demo. We can come on in 30 minutes, have a run through what your payment needs are, and then we can actually show you a lot of the features and products in real time that we feel will fit your business needs. Yeah, go to the enterprise page, click that, book a demo, and we'll see you on that.
And David, if people want to get in touch with you just to say hi and reach out, are you okay with that on LinkedIn? Can they come and find you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I am there.
Thank you very much for your time. We appreciate both of you coming in. That's it. Say bye-bye, guys.